Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where Karens think they rule the frickin' world. And in today's episode, a woman prevents OP from saving someone from having an allergic reaction. I know, just when you think these stories couldn't possibly get any more absurd, something like this comes along. I hope you enjoyed today's crazy lineup of stories. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and as always, your crazy story submissions can be sent to this email right here. Okay, so I took the day off from work yesterday because my nephew's school was closed and I wanted to spend some time with him. My brother and nephew live with me. My nephew is a small kid and he calls both my wife and I mom, while calling my brother dad. Now, this has led him to getting teased a bit, especially by Karen's son, whose name is Jared. Jared is easily 30 pounds heavier than my nephew and a solid 6 inches taller, so my nephew is absolutely terrified of the kid. So as a result, we don't invite that kid to parties or playdates. Every other kid on the block is invited, but I refuse to force my nephew to interact with someone that he's so afraid of. So when the ice cream truck pulls up to our neighborhood, it usually stops at the very beginning of the street. Kids, parents, and anyone else who wants an ice cream goes to meet the truck there, so it doesn't have to stop at each of the 6 houses individually. Yesterday, my nephew's playing in the yard with his friend Kevin, while I and Kevin's dad Joe were trying to keep up with them while enjoying a pitcher of slow gin fizz. All in a beautiful day in middle America, and now the story begins. So we hear the unmistakable sound of the ice cream man pulling up, heading towards our neighborhood. So both kids, Joe, his wife, my brother and I all head to the intersection to grab some soft serve. We get to the truck and I let Joe know that this one's on me, as he bought the drinks. So we all get our ice cream, I pay, and then we start to walk away. Before we get more than 20 feet from the truck, Karen has placed an order for her and her son Jared, and proclaimed in her best outside voice that I will be paying for these. Hearing that, I take a few steps back and say, "Excuse me, I never offered to pay for you." To which Karen says, "You said this one's on you." I said, I was talking to Joe, not you." To which Karen says, "That's not fair. Jared was so excited for ice cream, and now you're saying he can't have any? Do you like to disappoint kids?" I tell her, "Ma'am, he's free to have all the ice cream that you're willing to pay for. I'm not buying the kid who always picks on my nephew ice cream." The woman then screams at me, "How dare you?" I then say to the ice cream guy, "Sorry for the mix-up, but she's not on my tab. I just want to be clear about that." The mom then says, "Come on, Jared, we're going home with no ice cream because Mary hates you." So yeah, I switched to martinis when I got home because F that. Why would she come to the truck if she didn't have money on her? I'm starting to understand why her son was such a bratty kid. It's not his fault. He's being trained to be that way. Honestly guys, I can't help but to feel bad for the son. Like, yeah, he's a brat, but it seems pretty obvious that home life isn't all there. I wish OP would have said, "I don't hate you, Jared. I hate your mommy." But yeah, OP's not a fan of him either. So, next story. Okay, so last night was a farewell party for the assistant manager at my job. He's been with the company for almost 15 years, and it was second to his last day. Today's the last day. The guy had all my respect from all the time he took to supervise me and answer all my questions. He was also very easygoing and knew how to balance between professionalism and social skills, creating lifelong regular customers. It was sad to see him go, and we did have a good time, save for this one Karen dropping in like a bomb. As the party's being set up, my assistant manager was touched to see so many people coming to see him off. Employees of both stores came, the CEO himself, and even some store regulars were there. One of the regulars was a man, and not only had he had a strong relationship with the assistant manager, but with our whole company as well. So the party starts. We get to the point where the assistant manager was giving his speech thanking everyone. We suddenly hear loud footsteps approaching. In comes Karen with her son in tow, loudly announcing her late arrival. Now, I guess that was the husband's wife, as he tells her to quiet down. The assistant manager then continues and finishes off the speech, and some of the employees began setting up a makeshift buffet. I then see the man pulling his wife and son aside. I couldn't hear everything, but from what I can gather, she was supposed to be at home with the kid, but she thought she could drop by as his guest. She also claimed that it was free food, and their son was getting really cranky because he was hungry. One of the sales ladies who practically prepared everything was very specific on not bringing extra guests, as there wouldn't be enough food, and she was livid. The husband apologized and told her that he'll try to get his wife out of there as soon as possible. The food is ready and everybody gets in line. It just so happens that the mom and kid were right behind me, with the dad standing after them. The foods were mostly barbecue foods, like burgers, hot dogs, grilled chicken, with veggie sides, etc, etc. I was grabbing the stuff I want when out of nowhere, the woman starts to complain. I'll call her Karen because, why not? I can hear her saying, so there's no vegan foods at all? Like, are there vegan burgers? The husband tells her, there are salads and chips and veggies. To which Karen says, so others get grilled foods, and I have to settle with salads? I want something vegan grilled. Where are the vegan burgers? So one of the salespeople who were on the grill says, oh, sorry, we didn't know you'd be coming. Everybody here was okay with food being non-vegan. We didn't account for you. Karen then says, well, you should have. You should always have vegan food available for guests, since you never know. You should always think of others, especially with a party this size. Her husband then pulls her aside, and I can hear him telling her to quiet down. It was a really awkward moment, and we could hear them going back and forth, with Karen loud whispering, no, they were idiots. They should have thought of everything. Why would they not have vegan food? What kind of stupid party is this? Now at this point, her son pulls on her and says he wants candy, and he starts getting whiny. Mom tells him, no, sweetie, there's delicious foods here. You have to learn to eat what's in front of you. I hear that, and then I whisper to one of my coworkers and say, yeah, and she needs to learn to practice what she's preaching instead of complaining. Well, apparently Karen heard that because she whips around to face me, and she starts saying, who are you? I tell her it doesn't matter. Please stop talking and get your food. She then says to me, are you even an employee here? This is a private party. I tell her I've been with the company for almost 2 years. She then tells me that I don't belong at the party and that I'm being rude. I then say to her, you don't even know who the party's for. And Karen says, I don't give a damn who the party's for. Her husband tries to calm her down again, and she's screaming that she won't until I get fired. She then looks at me with the eyes of fury, but complies. She loads up her plate with some veggie sticks and fruit, and then she takes her food and her kids' food, and she goes somewhere far away from me. The dad and the sales lady, meanwhile, are grabbing a drink to calm down, and I do the same. The sales lady is visibly pissed that this woman's causing a ruckus, but she's trying to keep her composure. The assistant manager is also enjoying his time at the party. There was enough people there that it didn't really cause that much of a ruckus. So the party goes on for a bit, and everyone's having a good time talking to each other, when out of nowhere, the kid comes up to me. I say to him, oh, hey, can I help you? The kid tells me he's bored. There's no games here. He then says, do you have Fortnite on your phone? I then lie to him and say, no, sorry, this phone is incapable of playing Fortnite. Hearing that, the kid does get fussy, and he asks me to watch some YouTube videos or something. At that point, I say, sorry, you've gotta let me eat in peace. So moments later, Mom comes up to me, and she tells me to hand over my phone. I ask her why, and she says, because you are an employee. You have to listen to what the customer says. At that point, she reaches for my phone, she missed, and then she swipes the plate of food that was on the table right onto my lap, causing a huge mess. I then scream at her saying, what the F is your problem? That's what you get for not listening to me. At this point, the sales lady steps in, and she says, you know what, I've had enough. The party was held in honor for the assistant manager for his career with our company. You come in uninvited, and not only do you bitch about the free food, but you're harassing people. Now get out before we move you by force. At this point, the woman was about to protest when her husband comes over to drag them out of the store. This morning, the husband came in and apologized to everybody for his wife's behavior. Word that's spreading around is that their relationship has gone astray, and they're going through a rough patch and are currently looking at divorce. Now guys, I know this is a terrible thing to say, but I hope that if they do get divorced, that dad gets custody of the kid. And guys, I only say that because being away from that super entitled mom might help the kid be less of an entitled brat. Like, how embarrassing though, right? She crashes a party she's not invited to, complains about free food, causes a huge mess. Like, ugh, I'm shaking my head. Go home, Karen, go home. So a little context. So I was having a meeting and my volunteering with the other leaders, planning for this year's 3-day camping trip. As we were going over everything, this story we all tried to forget was brought up. The camping ground is a ranch-themed place with a bunch of activities, and we always see young groups from other places camping as well. So here's the story. This story is about one autistic kid in our group. Now, as much as this one autistic kid is an awesome guy, he's allergic to peanuts. His mother gave us an EpiPen to suppress the reaction until the emergency folks can arrive, and we always made sure to have someone she can trust carry it, either me or another girl. We always went to the same camping place I mentioned in the context, and this happened last year, when it was my 3rd time going there. So based on previous pleasant experiences, I thought nothing could go wrong. And oh, sweet merciful God, did crap hit the fan. So day 1, nothing particular happens. We and the parties from a different group are having dinner in the same room. Before the head counselor said grace to the dinner, he reminded a simple rule: no nuts allowed. The kitchen and dining hall themselves were nut-free, but he still said that just in case anyone's trying to bring in their own nut product into the dining hall. So day 2 rolls around and everything's going fine and it's breakfast. For some reason, I forgot to bring the EpiPen from the cabin. Everyone is once again gathered in the dining area, and I have the autistic boy sit with the volunteers and kids, so I can go to the restroom and grab a coffee on the way back. So as I was making my way back with a coffee mug in hand, I see a kid who's around 8 or 9 years old from another group, holding one of those bags of roasted peanuts, with his mom, maybe in her late 30s, sitting beside him. Now they were sitting at what I thought was a safe distance, but I didn't want to risk it. I decided to ask them nicely not to eat the peanuts here, as we have someone who's severely allergic to peanuts. So I come up to her and say, "Hi, my name's OP and I'm from so-and-so organization. How are you guys doing today?" The mother responds, "Oh, we're doing fine. The weather looks nice for boat rides." I say to her, "Yes, quite nice. Listen, I just want to let you know that we have someone from the group that's severely allergic to peanuts. It would do us a huge favor if you guys can have the peanuts somewhere else. Would you mind moving?" Hearing that, the woman rolls her eyes and she changes her attitude, saying, "Ugh, I just had to sit through that god-awful speech about no nuts yesterday. Are you really gonna tell us what we can and can't eat?" I say to her, "I understand that, but I have to ask you to eat those peanuts outside or at your cabin. The place is supposed to be peanut-free. The allergic person can become very sick." At this, the woman groans and says, "Fine, whatever." They put away the peanuts, and I think that's the end of it. Around 10 minutes into breakfast, the autistic boy starts to cough real bad. Now, I thought he was choking on food or something went down the wrong way, so I began to tap on his back. Shortly afterward, his face began to swell and he was having a full asthma attack. I then start to scream for help, and Leader Girl runs off to get the EpiPen. I figured it was somehow because of peanuts. Now, I knew he was allergic to peanuts, but I failed to see how deadly allergic he was to them. I was trying to figure out who or what the source of peanuts was, and then I saw him, the kid, the entitled kid watching the whole thing go down while casually eating his peanuts. And his mom was too busy pigging out on scrambled eggs and hash browns. In my state of panic, I run over to the boy, snatch the bag of peanuts from him and scream, "What the heck are you doing? I asked you to eat those peanuts somewhere else." Now hearing that, the mom finally lifts her head from her plate and she says, "Hey, stop shouting at him." I then say to her, "Ma'am, I asked the two of you to eat those peanuts somewhere else, and now that guy over there is having an allergic reaction." The Karen then says, "Well, I thought you were just joking around. I didn't know there was a person here who was allergic. I thought you were just saying that so I'd go somewhere else." I then say to her, "Why would anyone joke about someone being deathly allergic to peanuts?" At this point, the woman stammers and she says, "Well, who knows? The kid might be faking it to get attention." I was going to argue with her more, but at that point, Leader Girl brings the EpiPen. I had to prioritize saving the boy, and that mom certainly wasn't worth my time. I then rush to the boy, and Leader Girl hands me the EpiPen. I was about to inject him when out of nowhere, the woman comes out and snatches the syringe out of my hands. She then screams at me and says, "What are you doing? Are you drugging this poor boy? What drugs are these?" I say to her, "Lady, it's called epinephrine. It's the only thing that can save him right now." Keep in mind, this was a family-oriented camping place, so many people, including parents and children, were watching this woman throw her fit. And that's when everybody was asked to leave the dining hall. I was able to snatch the pen back from the mom. I quickly injected the autistic boy, who was laying on the floor at this point, and he starts to breathe again and his face began to swell down, and the mom goes berserk. The camp staff comes up to us and says that the police are notified with the emergency crew. They'll be here in a while. The woman then says, "Good, I want to see them getting cuffed." So fast forward to when the paramedics and the police arrive. The paramedic comes up to me and asks, "Hey, who's the one that had the allergic attack?" I then point and say, "The guy laying down there, I gave him some epinephrine to stop the reaction." The crazy woman hears this and she screams, "No, they injected him with a random drug and she helped," pointing to the Leader Girl. Officer says, "Is this true? May I see the container and the syringe you used?" I then hand it over to the police officer. He then takes one of the paramedics to verify that it was indeed what I said it was. Police 2 was questioning all the witnesses. and everybody else was checking up on the boy. The officer comes back and says, well, we have found that it was indeed a form of epinephrine to help with the allergic reaction. Officer 2 then looks at the woman and says, you said you tried to save the boy's life by taking the EpiPen out of his hand? The woman screams, no. That's when the leader girl tells the officer that she saw me trying to talk them out of eating peanuts in here, and they ignored my words. The officer then turns to me and says, what did you do with the bag of peanuts? I told him I threw him in the trash bin right over there. And that's when Karen says, I want him charged for theft and harassment. He stole my boy's peanuts and threw it away. The officer says, ma'am, he was trying to save that boy's life. He did the right thing by taking away the peanuts. Please keep your voice down and we won't condemn him for doing the right thing. So hearing that, the mother seethed with rage. She actually reached out to hit the officer, at which point they cuffed her, and she was dragged out classic Karen style. She was arrested on the spot for child endangerment, since the kid was 16 at the time, false accusations, assaulting an officer, and even resisting arrest. Her entitled kid was sent away with the rest of the group. Not really sure what happened to the mom, but everybody told me the autistic kid will be fine. Our leaders and volunteers tried their best to pretend that the whole thing never happened, and we went throughout the day with scheduled activities, but everybody was on edge. When we got back, the boy's mom thanked me, and she told me she was glad I was with him. So yeah, we're going again this year, and I certainly hope everything goes smoothly. Guys, I don't even know what to say to this. Like, the story is just so absurd. Like, just when I think these stories can't get any more insane, I stumble upon something like this. Like, the woman actually said, I thought you were joking and just telling me to eat my peanuts somewhere else. Like, oh my goodness. And the fact that she tried to prevent OP from saving the person with an EpiPen, calling it a random drug, yeah, that lady definitely went from 0 to completely nutso in a matter of 10 minutes. Okay guys, so the last story in this episode is gonna be a bunch of updates from a post that I read 2 episodes ago. So I read a story where an entitled Karen thought she owned the whole freaking apartment building that OP and 6 other people live in. So a lot of you kept commenting, Fluff, there's way more to this crazy lady. And yeah, I totally had no idea. Like, when people share posts with me, I never think to dig around to see if there's updates, and I totally will do that now. So guys, if you missed it, I'll link the episode right here so you can go take a listen to that crazy story. But if you're new here, the story is pretty much an entitled woman buys an apartment that's right above OP. She moves in and starts acting like she owns the whole building, not just that one apartment she bought. She starts to put a letter on people's doors saying that she's the new owner. She starts telling everybody that they have a 9 p.m. curfew, which is ridiculous, and that she's entitled to inspecting their units once per month. Oh, and she started saying that pets weren't allowed. Basically everything under the sun that makes her the ultimate nightmare neighbor. So brace yourselves, here are the updates to the story. So I guess this is an update to my last post. I had a lot of people ask me to post if she did anything else. This is also currently happening, so my significant other is witnessing it and texting me while I'm at work. So if you missed my last post, I had a new neighbor move into my building and she left notes on everybody's doors, saying she bought the building and gave us insane rules to follow. She has been quiet for a few days and I thought maybe that's it. Apparently I was wrong. So each unit in our building is allocated 1 parking space. Just 1. So I park in mine and my significant other parks his car in the street on the other side of the building. Our parking lot has 1 visitor space. It's a very small parking lot, 6 spots for residents and 1 visitor. The visitor spot is nearly always empty, and my neighbors have said that my significant other can park his car there if he wanted, as we're the only unit with 2 cars, but he doesn't mind parking where he is. So this morning, my significant other woke up to yelling. Our kitchen window overlooks the parking lot, and he snuck a peek out the window and saw the entitled neighbor standing next to our nice neighbor's car, and they were arguing loudly. She kept yelling that she had a second car and she needed to park in his spot, and that he had to move his car or else she'd have it towed. He kept repeating that this was his parking spot and that she could either park in the visitor spot or on the street, and if she towed his car, he would report it stolen. My significant other said that she kept yelling that she can park anywhere she wants, and he needed to move it or else. So my significant other decided to park his car in my empty spot in case she tried to park there while I'm at work. The last message he sent me, she stormed upstairs in a huff and slammed the door. So I got home from work and she's parked her second car in the visitor spot, but she's parked it so badly that it's blocking the driveway in. So right now I'm parked on the street, but I'm too tired to deal with her. Anyway, when I got up for work the next day, it was still there, but when I came home, it was gone. I asked my significant other as he was at home, and apparently a tow truck came and took it away. I'm still not sure which neighbor called the tow truck, but I have a suspicion that it's the one she was arguing with. Update number 2. Well, I'm back. As many of you predicted, her entitlement did grow. In case anyone missed the update on my last post, her car was towed, but I don't know which neighbor did it. This made her even more angry. But seeing as I was at work, she hasn't blamed me or my significant other. It's been raining all week, and as I don't have a dryer, I haven't been able to do big items like sheets or towels, only clothes that I can hang up outside. So on Saturday, it was finally sunny, and I raced home from work, dragged my significant other out of bed so we can wash all the blankets and dry them in case it rained again. So I had managed to get through 5 loads of sheets, blankets, and towels, and I hung them all outside on the line to dry. We all share it. There's technically 2 different lines for us to use, and we've never had an issue before. So I hung my last load and go inside to chill. I come back out an hour later to get the first load off, and found every single item I'd hung on the ground. Nothing had replaced it. All had been torn down, and my pegs and peg basket was gone. Most of what I'd hung was still wet and now covered in dirt. So I got my significant other and he helped me bring everything inside. Before I went upstairs, knocked on her door, and when she answered, I asked if she had taken my washing off the line. And she smugly told me that she had not given me permission to use her line, and that next time I should be polite and ask, and she might let me. I calmly told her that everyone can use the line. It's a part of the building and nobody has to ask her permission. She then tried to talk over me, but I just held up my hand and told her that I was a part of the strata committee. I know all the rules, who owns what, and she needs to pull her head out of her ass and to grow up and stop her behavior because it's not doing her any favors. I told her to have a nice day before she slammed the door in my face. So as I'm on the ground floor, I do have a glass sliding door that opens out to the shared yard. So being that it was a nice cool day, I had the door open but the screen door shut and locked, so I could air the house out. So whenever the door's open, my cats will sit at it and watch the birds outside. I was pretty tired, so my significant other suggested that we both lay down and have a nap while I wait for the washing machine to finish. We were woken up about an hour later to a rattling noise in the lounge room, and I thought maybe one of the cats had tried to climb the screen door again, so I got up to scold them, and found my entitled neighbor trying to open my screen door. Like really pulling on it to the point that the whole door was shaking. At that point I asked her what the heck she was doing, and she told me she saw my cats while she was on her way to hang clothes out, and she wanted to pet them, but the door was stuck. I told her the door wasn't stuck, it was locked, because this is a private residence and she just can't walk in here whenever she pleased. She kept trying to open the door while yelling that I can't keep my cats from people, and if she wants to pet them, it's her right to show them real love. So that's when I repeat that this is my home and she can't walk in here whenever she wants. This really seemed to piss her off, and she starts to yell at me that I was a little bitch and I was abusing my animals and how dare I speak to her like that. At this point, I was pretty sick of being yelled at in my own home, so I just mustered up the sweetest smile I could before telling her politely to F off. Now, if looks could kill, my cats would be eating my body right now. She then tries to open the door again, and that's when my significant other comes out and says that he'll call police if she didn't stop. She finally lets go of the door, glared at us, and stormed off. Needless to say, we're ordering another camera for that door, and yes, my cats are microchipped now. Guys, I almost didn't make it through reading that one. Like, this woman is something else, I swear. So this is update number 3. So as we're the bottom unit, we have a side door that opens onto the shared yard. I think the only time I use that door is to air the place out, or as a shortcut to hang washing out. Anyway, yesterday we were going about our day when we saw the entitled neighbor and a few other people setting up tables and chairs in the yard. No big deal, since it's a shared space. A few minutes later, there's a knock on our side door and it's her. My significant other opens the door and did the usual greetings. She told us she was having a party and that we needed to move our wooden planters off our patio because she needed space for her barbecue. Now we're thinking, no. Firstly, our patio is our space, it's not shared space, and secondly, they sit right next to the glass door, so I don't want some random person looking into my living room all night when they're cooking. Significant other reminded her that she doesn't own the building and we won't be moving anything, when one of her friends asked what the heck she was doing. They had already set up the barbecue in the yard. She then huffed and walked off without saying anything, and we thought that was it. It was not. So a few hours go by and we end up closing the curtains for privacy. We can hear talking, laughing, cooking, the usual sounds of a backyard party, when there's another knock on the door. I was cooking dinner, so my significant other answered it. This time, it was one of her friends, saying that she needed to use the bathroom, as the entitled neighbor told her to just knock on our door instead of walking upstairs. Significant other politely told her sorry, but she couldn't use our bathroom, and she apologized for knocking and intruding. So not even 2 minutes later, there's a banging on the door, and by now, my significant other is pissed. He opens the door, and the entitled neighbor started to lay into him about how dare he expect her guest to go all the way upstairs, and that he needs to apologize to her and keep the door open for her guests. He then told her to F off and to stop bothering us and to get her head out of her ass, and she can't lay claim to everything she sees. Our bathroom wasn't hers to use, and her guests could use her bathroom, and if she knocked on our door again, he would call police for harassment. So this morning, when I got up, everything had been cleaned up from the yard, but our planters had been knocked over. Joke's on her, because we hadn't planted anything in them yet, and most of the soil in there was used cat litter, so now she can smell my cat's old turds. So this is the last update to the post, and OP comes back and says, "So it's been quiet for a few weeks. I normally hear her arguing with another neighbor all the time, but lately, nothing. So last week, I bought a new car. It's slightly bigger than my old car, so I'm not confident to park it in my spot, so I've been parking it on the street. The other day, I get home from work and I see a young man standing on her balcony. He was quite friendly, called out hello to me, introduced himself as her nephew, and explained why he was there. Because she broke her foot. Apparently at the last family dinner, she tripped over a dog and she broke her foot, and she's now staying with family because she can't get up and down the stairs. He said he was house-sitting because she didn't trust her neighbors, but he admitted that we're all really nice and quiet and maybe she's just crazy. It took all my strength not to sing and dance right there. So I was hoping that she wouldn't come back after she broke her foot, but last week, we heard a door slam from upstairs. We look outside and yep, her car is there. Anyway, a few days ago, I tested positive for the much whispered pathogen, and I've been doing the right thing and staying inside and dying quietly. My partner was away all day Saturday because he was picking up his new car. He gets home late Saturday afternoon, parks his car on the back lawn so he could give it a quick hose down from the drive. I was inside watching through the sliding door when I heard her balcony door open, and she starts yelling at him to get off her lawn. That's when he told her to shove it, that it's not her lawn, and that he's done when he's done, and can she please stop yelling because I have COVID, and it doesn't help the migraines. Well, that was a big mistake. I then hear her storming down the stairs, and she starts banging on the door screaming that I'm diseased and I need to isolate somewhere else, before she gets sick, and if I don't leave, she will call the police. I told her that she's been told repeatedly that she can't kick us out of our own place that we own. I told her I'm staying inside, and that she can call police if she wants, but she would more than likely be fined herself for wasting their time. I haven't heard anything from her since, or anything from the police, so we think it was an empty threat. I was so tempted to open the door because, like they say, sharing is caring. So guys, that concludes all the frickin' updates on this woman, and boy, oh boy, nightmare neighbor, right? I have a feeling these shenanigans will go on until either OP moves out or this woman leaves. Absolutely crazy, guys. And what an episode of entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories today. If you did, hit that thumbs up, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'll link it right here. A Karen decides to berate OP in a Walmart and ends up losing her job. It's such a funny story, so go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.